Good morning, Europe. Good morning. Maybe good afternoon, Asia, if you're here. I hope you're well. We're live. It is Tuesday, the 7th of January, and the markets will open momentarily. This is my trading account. Let me just see how long we have left. We have a minute and 17 seconds before the markets open. Today I have prepared some slides for you. This is the slide from yesterday where I'm talking through why I'm doing what I'm doing. You can see that in the first video called video number 1. And today I will be talking about yesterday's trading. So we'll review yesterday's trading when there's an opportunity to do so. But let's just tune into what the markets are doing. So I got a multiple screen set up so I can show you my account on one screen where I'm streaming to YouTube, and the markets are open. We're off. Let me just see this comment here. Hi Tom, may I request for your YouTube title to put in the date as well, so that it's easier for me to visit the video using the date rather than the number in your title. Or you could just look at the description where it says the date. There you go. So we're currently looking at a 15-minute chart. We had a very clearly identifiable double bottom in the FTSE earlier. I'm trading 2 accounts, and I promised I wouldn't talk about my second account, which is my large account, but it'll sort of give you an idea of, if I'm pointing it out, it's probably because I did something. I want to talk about the DAX yesterday, both this pullback here and this pullback here and the subsequent 15-minute chart. And contrast that to what's going on the daily chart. We made an 8-day high yesterday in the FTSE, in the DAX. And looking at this pattern here, you'll be thinking, are we going to witness what we saw over here? I want to show you something interesting that happened this morning. In fact, I can do that right now, but we'll probably revisit it. So I think I'm not a Fibonacci fan, but if you look at a daily chart and you take what you're seeing over here, see this area over here, yesterday's trade, if you compare it to this, you'll notice that this bar here and this bar here are not completely dissimilar. It's a break above a trading range, and here it's a break above a trading range. I'll buy a short, but it still takes out the highs over here. But it's the following day, you see how it retraces. I keep a very strict eye on this, and while I'm not a fan of Fibonacci as the only tool in my box. I'm very mindful when you see 38% retracement, because I argue, and I want to give credit to Larry Pesavento for this, but I argue that in strongly trending markets, the market tends to only retrace 38%, and that gives you a buying opportunity. And so if you're looking at the DAX this morning, and then perhaps I'll also give you a clue to what I've been doing this morning. But if you're looking, so this is what happened in December. You have a big push up, and then I'll take a Fibonacci ratio from the low of that bar here up to the high, which is an unconventional way of doing it, because most people will take a major high and a major low. But I'm far more focused on the intricacies intraday. You will see that the market the following day makes a retracement to the 38%. And if you look at this morning, if you take a Fibonacci ratio from the low of yesterday up to the high of yesterday, you'll see that there's a Fibonacci ratio of 38% coming in at 20,117. And if you look at the DAX this morning, you will see, let's look at on a 30-minute chart, you will see that down here, remember I said just find it again, that the Fib ratio, the 38%, came in at 20,117. You'll see here that the low this morning was 20,115. And you have to factor in that that's with a spread as well. So it made a very identifiable, and well, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your business of trading, but I'm telling you that when it comes to day trading, I keep an eye on this. Okay, so in the FTSE, we have a somewhat different pattern. We had a push higher off the open, and now we got a first bar negative, and I need to be a buyer. So I'm buying the FTSE here. I should have actually bought below 03, but I was talking to you, so I've simply just I bought the FTSE because it's a first bar negative, and I used a 20-point stop loss. That's not going to be a great fill for me, but it is a first bar negative. There you go. There's a much better entry opportunity there. So let me just you have to sort of balance the, okay, do I want to miss this? And will 1 or 2 points make any difference? And I decided no, very quickly. So I'm filled from, let me just show you here, show the position monitor. What am I looking for? I'm looking for my entry. 8205. I'm putting it into Telegram. There we go. There we go. Easier to see. There's the first bar. It's a negative, and I'm buyer below. But I was slow because I was talking about the Fibonacci retracement on a different time scale in the DAX. looks like a pretty significant push lower in the FTSE. So I'm using a 20-point stop loss. I admit that this wasn't particularly well traded, but it's that balance between, well, that's the setup, I'm gonna buy it. I'll show you what it looks like on a daily chart in the FTSE. You had a big push up on the first day of trading. You could even use the same idea from the DAX you can use here in the FTSE, just to see where the 38% retracement is. But you can see that actually came on the following day. See that? Right on the following day. And since then we've been trading lower. So I am also keeping an eye on the DAX, but as I said, I got a multi-screen setup, so you won't see me, but I've put this charting package allows me to have several charts open, even of the same instrument, and there you go. So I'm watching the DAX on another chart screen. So the DAX hasn't hit anything in particular, but it is nevertheless coming off. Didn't take out the highs. So the price action is bullish. We had an enormous push up yesterday, and then a complete retracement, which was brilliant, just for the efficiency of the market. First, you had a very big push up, and I'll tell you about that in my PowerPoint in a second. And then you had a lack of follow through with an inside bar on a 15-minute chart. This is a 30-minute, but the 15-minute will show you the same. And then on the YouTube session yesterday, I argued that with this kind of pattern, if we closed above this bar here, we should see 20,200, and we did. It was a good trade. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. But it sort of worked out, and so here we are. Here's a bigger picture. I still think we're going to see higher prices today. The FTSE though is not playing ball to the bullish story in the DAX. So I'll leave my screen on this, and I'll keep an eye on the DAX on the other. So here's a 4-hour chart. Just to go into compact mode. Here's a 4-hour chart of the FTSE. And so since this, we're back down to where we started the year, essentially. Whether that's going to bring buyers out of the woodwork, I don't know. We're coming up to the conclusion of the first 15-minute chart. In the DAX. DAX rallied 100 points off the retracement and the double bottom. From 20,115 up to 2212. My FTSE is still hanging in there, but as you can see, I'm losing 15 points. I don't know if you recall this, but when you observe the DAX from yesterday, this is the DAX from yesterday morning. And interestingly, I found no news that could explain this 200-point rally. There was nothing scheduled, at least not in Forex Factory. Saw nothing in there. But you'll notice the complete lack of any meaningful direction yesterday morning. Again, we're looking at the FTSE right now. I was looking at this is a completely different story, but I was looking at trading crypto yesterday, and I was looking at the offering at TD365 and their crypto. I was looking at the spread in Bitcoin, which is 60 points, and I had no idea really if that was competitive or what it was. So I looked at something called Trade, and I saw that they had a spread of 190. Oh, wow, that's quite wide compared to 60. So I'm just looking around different brokers and seeing what they're offering. If you and of course, I don't know if you know this, but there are certain brokers. For example, I found one, and I don't think I want to mention their name because they don't come out so well. They were offering the Dow at 0.7. I thought, what? That's amazing. That's the best spread I've ever seen. But it turns out that you can only trade it in one lot. It's like £1. And if you want to trade two lots, then you have to pay more in spread. And so eventually, if you work your way up to the size I'm trading, you would end up paying something like 4.3 points in spread. I'm thinking, well, that's a bit deceiving, isn't it? You can have your first beer for for 10p, but the second beer is going to cost you 20p. Okay. Anyway, maybe it works for them. So DAX aggressive school run is setting up here at 20,158. But considering how the DAX traded yesterday, I'm not going to bet on breakouts. Rather, if you look at the 10-minute chart, I'd perhaps be more interested in being a buyer here because we're trading below prior bar low. But we'll see. I'm just going to mark my time. The FTSE is staging a pullback or a fight back, a comeback, whatever you call it. So the aggressive school run is essentially bar number 4. So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. And we're broken below the lower bar number 4. And we're coming back down to the breakout area of the trading range. I'm still long FTSE, and my position is looking better now than it did a few minutes ago. So this is the stake size I'm trading with this account size, trading 10 a point in the FTSE and 4 a point in the DAX. I want to show you the FTSE from yesterday, because that's part of some of the material that I have brought with me as well this morning, which I'll go through momentarily. But so this is where the FTSE opened, and it's all first bar negative. I think the low here was 11. I didn't trade it because I was preparing for the new structure here in YouTube. Went up to 15, so you would be a buyer below 11. It went, so this was 11, I think it went as low as 97. It says 99, I think it was 97, so you wouldn't have been stopped out. But it's fair to say that the FTSE was just going into a long, protracted trading range, which it didn't come out of until the DAX started to move as well. So it's interesting how everyone's got an opinion. So I got 2 comments I'd love to show you, but so Ben says to me, yesterday's news was the Washington Post article about Donald Trump imposing tariffs on all trading partners. Okay. But then listen to this. Not 1 minute earlier, Thomas had sent me a message. Yesterday's rally was powered by earnings from Foxconn, and Nvidia released their new video cards, and the CEO spoke tonight at the CES. Very impressive and important for AI, in my honest opinion, he says. So there you go. So you have 2 people sending me why the market rallied. Of course, we shall never know. It's just okay. My FTSE position is now in profit. That's nice. And I'm meaning no disrespect to neither Thomas nor Ben. It's just that we all have our little stories about why things are happening, and that doesn't necessarily make them true. And then there's Martin here who's asking me, is there any volume on YouTube? And I said, no. He said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I pressed something. Sorry. Okay. I wish people would do a little bit more introspection before just reaching out to me. It's a drain on my resources to monitor messages, which I don't tend to do anyway during the trading session. I just can't. Let's deal with the FTSE position. Am I in a position to move the stop loss? Possibly. If I were to move the stop loss, what I would do is I would pick a higher time frame than the 5 minute, and then I would place it below a low accordingly. So for example, the FTSE has the current 10-minute bar that closes in 20 seconds. And this is my own software that I have developed together with a brilliant mind. Not me, the brilliant mind. The coder was the brilliant mind. you can use this software free of charge if you want, is would be to move the stop loss up here below that low, which was 8195. And considering my stop loss is currently 8185, I could save myself 10 points. So that's one option. The other option is just to leave it. However, would I add to the position now? Well, considering how the FTSE was trading yesterday, I would probably be reluctant to add until I have more points on the profit. But let's see how it evolves. Let me just show you the DAX now, because now the situation is interesting in the DAX. It's interesting because now we got a market which had a strong push off before the market opened, and then you had a very strong rally. That rally didn't really take us anywhere. It didn't take up the old highs, and now we are trading back into the range. We've just tested coming down to the low end of the range that was settled during the night, and we now got a school run set up. That school run setup is being long. If I get rid of all of these and then I'll just show you the school run. So there's the school run long and a school run long. And I think I want to do a 2-point offset instead of 5, so you can see it clearer. That means a long position in the DAX at 2177 plus 2 points. So please look out for that. So currently have 5 points in profit in the FTSE. I would very much like to add to it, but my first priority would be to move stop loss. So if I look at the 15-minute chart, I think I'm relatively safe by moving my stop loss up and at least saving myself 10 points. So stop loss now in the FTSE to 8196. The stop loss in the DAX, if I took a school run, would be the difference between 77 and 48, which I count to roughly 30 points. So that would be okay. Excuse me. A trading colleague of mine yesterday made a very interesting point. I spoke to him later after the trading day was over, and he said, you know, it's going to be really interesting to follow you on this 10,000 pound challenge. I said, yeah, I think it will as well. Although I am trading another account as well with my normal big size. And he said, yeah, and I think that's exactly the problem, because I could envision that you would be like yesterday. You had a 250 point profit at one point. You had 100 points in the Nasdaq, and you had 40 odd points in the Dow. So you're making about £200-300, which is on an account is 3%, which no one would ever deny that would be a good return for the day. However, because you're used to bigger sizes, you're probably not really registering that it's £300. You just think, okay, well that's the normal stake size, for example, in the FTSE. And then I never really it never really thought about that. I think, yeah, that actually is, I actually also have to sort of switch my mindset to, that's actually a really good return on a £10,000 account. So it's going to be interesting. All right, let's keep an eye on the DAX. Okay, so the DAX is pushing higher and is triggering a school run. So I want to see if I can get a better price. If not, I'm not going to be too upset because the FTSE is looking okay as well. Here's the daily chart. I don't know if you notice this, but I think that's very important. The FTSE has taken out yesterday's low. Here's yesterday. Here's yesterday's low. We're just taking out and we're now trading back into the range. That's a positive development and should indicate that we should at least see 8225. DAX is rallying, so those who took the school run will be in a good position. I was hoping for the DAX just to give me that opportunity to trade down here to around 70, because I thought, okay, entry around 70, stop loss and stop and reverse. My stop loss would be about 25 points. It may still happen. So looking at the 4-hour chart, that's a good looking 4-hour chart if you are long the market. It's taking out the low of the range and is now reversing back into the range. If I used a different technique, then it would go something like this. We're taking out the low here, and it sets up a move till 8225. But I'm not going to be in a rush to take profit. I need these bigger runs to build capital so that I can trade bigger size. And it will take some time. I'm going to make a big effort to let them run. I risked 20 points. I've currently got 13 points in profit. my stop loss is now only 10 points, but I like to just keep the stop loss there. So while we are observing these markets, I would like to go through a review of yesterday's European session, not the US session. I'll do that later. So, as I've already alluded to, I keep an eye on the daily chart. It was actually a bond trader called Tom Baldwin, who was one of the meanest bond traders in the pit in its heydays, that got me onto the idea that even though you're a day trader, you keep an eye on the daily chart. And so here's the daily chart, and as I did earlier, I drew a comparison between this move here and what we're seeing here, and I pointed out that in strongly trending markets, you shouldn't really see anything beyond a 38% retracement. And I pointed out that that's exactly what we got this morning in the DAX. So if you had been up at that hour, that would have been an opportunity if you believed that this was a strong move yesterday. And this is a daily chart. If we then turn our focus to the the 15-minute chart in the DAX, sorry, I'm keeping an eye on the market as well, because the FTSE is doing really well now. If we're turning our attention to the 15-minute chart, then you had the first 15-minute here. Sorry, I think actually, let me just double check this. I don't want to. I want to make sure that no. So this bar here, this is the school run bar, and it's a very long bar, and it takes out the low, followed by an inside bar. So what was interesting yesterday, how we didn't see any follow through, but it had made sense to be a buyer above the inside bar. Imagine that you could have shorted below the low of the inside bar. So this was the third bar. But the actual school run bar itself didn't produce anything if you were a buyer above. In fact, one could argue that it would have been better to sell if you had sort of looked at the context. And if you then looked at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the seventh bar, which is the 0930 bar, 1030 in Europe, as this bar here is another one that I follow. It's called the brunch break. It produced something, but it was a 1 bar miracle, and that was it. And then you had the news, whatever the news was. Then up here, this low here was a 38% retracement of this move here. It's very difficult to draw numbers with a mouse, 38%. And then this move here, can't put anything to it other than it retraced all the way. So you almost have like an efficiency of, you have no overlap between this bar and this bar, but this bar here created that complete perfect overlap. And then very much, as I pointed out in real time, if we close above this inside bar here, which we did here, that paves the way up to new highs, and that's exactly what we got. And I'm not saying that to, look at me, I did it. It was more like I'm just pointing out that this was pointed out in real time. And as I said, I looked at Forex Factory and I couldn't see anything to suggest that there were any news coming out. So you're probably right, Ben, or whoever it was, saying it was probably an article that caused it. And then there's the 38% retracement of the big move. Sorry, that was this one here that I wanted to point out. And then we go on to the FTSE. It printed the first bar negative. I would have wanted to be a buyer down here. I didn't do it because I wasn't trading yesterday morning. I think this point here was 11 and this here was 97. I usually use a 20-point stop loss, so I would have been safe. And I think this area here was about 18. So, you know, at best, I probably would have had 7-point profit. One of you sent me a message to say that you took this trade here at 09, and when the market rallied, you moved stop loss to break even and you were stopped out. I think, you know what, I'd say that was fair play. That was well traded. And then it sort of just shows you the rest of the FTSE, which was just a long sideways slope until the market finally found some traction off this article. Yeah, so that was a sort of a review of yesterday. Let's discard that. So the FTSE is doing well, and the DAX school run that I didn't take, mostly on account that I'm already long the market in the FTSE, is actually also producing a really decent return. Right now, up about 45 points. So there you go. So that's sort of a review of what's going on. I currently have £180 in profit. And both the FTSE and the DAX, according to my theories, are producing really well. So there you go. So that was sort of a review of what's going on and what in a trade. I'm going to run this trade. Now, with these live streams, the length of them sort of greatly varies and depends on what the market is actually doing. I'm just happy if I can point out trades for you. And I've achieved that mission with the FTSE today, and also partly, although I didn't take it, with the DAX. I was quite happy not to overexpose myself because my account is in negative, and I'll explain that in the US session. Although I can rectify that right now. And I think that's always the temptation, isn't it? That when you are in a position of weakness, you just want to even the scale. But then you're not really trading the market, you're trading the account size. Having said that, I don't think that anyone would blame me technically for taking profit in the FTSE. Having said that, when you look at this 4-hour chart of the FTSE, if you ask me, there's a good chance that we're going to see 8250. Then it would have been nice to have been long from 8205. So I think that sums up the lessons from this morning. I don't want to overstay my welcome. It was lovely to trade with you, as always. The market will now do what the market will do. I have a position running. That's what I was hoping to achieve. So with that in mind, I think it might be a good time to just say thank you very much, and I will see you again for the US session. I'll just leave a snapshot of what's going on right now. currently have an open profit of £250. And I definitely think we can move the stop loss to break even now. So thank you very much for being here this morning. It was lovely to trade with you. This is a live account. And the goal is to try and grow these 10,000 as much as I can. It would have looked good on the account to have taken the DAX trade today, but I chose not to. Thank you so much for being here. Look after yourself, stay strong, and shortly there will be a description of the trades in the YouTube description for the video below. Take care, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.